We are
the Network
Blender. Welcome to the Network Blender. We love the Network Blender, our podcast where we just talk about things going on in the community and just things that, we all have questions. We all have things that we want to know more about, coming up with solutions and being a community together. So we're excited to be here today. I am Tammy Escobedo and I am the host of Zen and Juice, which is one of our segments where we talk about wellness and health. So we're excited about that today.
And I'm Scott Dodson. I'm your host of the Spin Cycle, and we are delighted today to have with us congressional candidate Ryan Binkley, who's going to talk with us about faith, family, and his platform and his vision for our congressional district, which encompasses all of CD 32.
Awesome, and we're excited about the local blend. That is one of our segments where Kim Johnson is our host, and she talks about all the things going on in our community, what's happening with our nonprofits, and we have a lot of them in Rockwall County.
We do.
So we're excited to be able to give back in those areas. And then our Shake It Up segment, where we talk about just questions that you've either submitted or questions that people have given us or asked about our podcast and who we are. So we're excited about Mike Krause being our host of that segment, and we have a good show for you today. So stay tuned.
Great, thank you.
Do you want to know where Rockwall County is growing, what's moving in the market, and how you can position yourself to be a part of it? If you're ready to move smarter, not faster, listen up. Hi, I'm Kim Johnson with the Local Blend. Let's talk growth. Across Rockwall County, especially in Rockwall, Fate, and Royce City, residential development continues. But here's the key word: strategic. Single-family homes dominate. Townhomes and multifamily are increasing. Why? Land is finite. Rockwall County is the smallest county in Texas by land mass. Finite space equals long-term value protection. And the housing dynamics. Spring and early summer are peak listing seasons. Homes priced correctly move efficiently. Listen to your agents. Luxury properties require smart positioning, not hope. We are no longer in a frenzy mode. We are in strategy mode. And in lifestyle and community, Lake Ray Hubbard isn't just scenery. It's leverage. Waterfront access, fine dining, events, family-focused festivals, and seasonal markets strengthen community connection. That connection drives property value. When we're talking about leadership and health under the Local Blend, local leadership focuses on infrastructure, public safety, long-term planning. Healthcare services are supported regionally through the Texas Department of State Health Services. And on our nonprofit sector, organizations quietly protect families. Rockwall County Helping Hands, Children's Advocacy Center for Rockwall, and the Rainbow Room, just to name a few. Also, I want to mention that the City of Fate is hosting a Hopping into Fate Easter Scramble, and it's going to leave you with so much fun for your family and community. And it's on March the 28th, and it's at 10 a.m. in downtown Fate. And they strengthen the community backbone. Today's key takeaway: that Rockwall County isn't just expanding, it's redefining. I wanted to remind everyone, don't forget that we have the Network Mixer. We wanted you to join us at Shenanigans in the Z-Lounge on March the 23rd at 4:30. Bring your business cards, bring your energy. Let's mix up those networks, make connections, opportunities, and strategy all in one room. And in closing, we want to move intentionally going forward. We want to understand the pulse of this county, and we want you to position yourself where growth is happening. I'm Kim Johnson, and this is the Local Blend.
Hi, I'm Scott Dodson. I'm your host of the Spin Cycle, and today we are really honored to have with us congressional candidate Representative Ryan Binkley, who is running for CD 32, which encompasses all of Rockwall County. So Ryan is the CEO and the co-founder of the Generational Group, He is the president of the Way to Freedom and the founder and senior pastor of Create Church in Richardson. So we are so delighted to have Ryan with us today. A little bit more about Ryan's background. Ryan's company has successfully closed over 1,700 transactions. He is personally responsible for over 450 families that are employed by his companies. And before founding the Generational Group, Ryan built a diverse industry background, gaining experience in consumer products with big companies like Procter & Gamble and Boston Scientific, where he and I actually shared some time and know a lot of the same people, but unfortunately didn't know each other back then. So it's just strange kind of how that comes around later in life. Ryan's also driven by a great vision to restore America, and in 2016 ran a presidential campaign, and after the conclusion of his campaign was supportive and continues to be supportive of President Trump and all of his initiatives, appearing on camera and with groups such as Turning Point USA, etc. Ryan's also founded the Way to Freedom, which is a 501c4 company, and they are focused on spiritual freedom and foundational messaging, and he's engaged with groups like the Christian Engaged organization, and has founded the Way to Freedom to bring a message of hope and economic freedom to our next generation. So we're very blessed today and thankful to have Ryan Binkley here with us to talk.
Thank you, Scott.
And talk
Great to
about
be with
his
you.
candidacy. Thanks very much.
you.
Do you listen to that and go, wow, that's
Who
a
is
lot of
that guy?
information.
Right,
Who is
right.
that guy?
Well, just a point of clarity, it was in 2024, the last election that I ran for president, not 2016. So
okay.
I was there in Iowa shouting away about economic freedom, about these
Right.
very issues, and of course supported President Trump and did my best to campaign for him once we got out. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, we're glad that you're here. I have a
It's
quick
great.
question for
Sure.
you. So what problem in District 32 keeps you up at night that you really just want to run for Congress?
Well, I'm a businessman and a pastor. This is what I've been doing most of my life.
Right.
And, I've been married now for 27 years. We have 5 kids, Ellie and I do, and their ages are 15 to 25. And what I've seen in their life is that simply now that the older ones are getting they're on their own, they're getting apartments, and, there's simple opportunities at their own American dream. To be independent, get an apartment. We have half the young people today living with their parents until they're 25 or 26 years
Right.
old across America. So their dream is to be on their own. Their opportunities are different than what mine was and yours was 30 years ago.
That's right.
When I got out of college, you get an apartment for about half the cost as percentage of the average wage. You could get a house, for a few $1,000s down. You could buy a $100,000 house.
Right.
Now these things are out of reach. And so I've always felt like this, that if we don't do something in our lifetime, in my lifetime right now for this next generation, we're in trouble. The next generation further is in trouble. And I thought this, you know what the greatest generation is known for?
World
For
War
what they
II.
sacrificed
Yeah,
for our
absolutely.
freedom.
That's right.
I thought, what would our generation be known for 50, 100 years from now? We might be known, if we don't solve this economic crisis of $40 trillion in debt,
Right.
this big saddle on the next generation, we might be known as the generation that prospered the most but sacrificed the least. And so that's what keeps me up at night. How can we live our lives the next 20 or 30 years for our generation in a place of prosperity and peace and strength, and then pass off to our kids and grandkids a better opportunity than they have right now? And that's what I'm living for.
That's awesome.
Ryan, that's prophetic. My kids are of similar ages and getting to the point where they're wanting to also buy homes for themselves, and they just can't. They're just not in that situation. Not only can't they on their own, but it would take everything that they and their spouse could earn in several years to just come up with that down payment. So it is really transformational to be able to do that. Now, as you think about your platform and running for Congress, what are maybe the top 3 platform items that you believe will have the greatest impact on us here in CD32?
Well, so CD32, it's a very interesting district. So it's all of North Dallas, basically, then Rockwall County, and then it goes out to East Texas. So we have urban,
Right.
we have suburban here, and then we have rural. But it's a plus 15 Republican district, which is exciting because we
Right.
share the same values, which is great. But as I look at our district and what's important to everybody, there's a lot of key things. First of all, if you were to ask me this question just a year and a half ago, it would have been border security.
Sure.
Number one,
Yeah.
we were getting flooded. 5 million, 4 million people a year, illegal immigrants come across our southern border with Joe Biden. But President Trump has solved that big issue right now. There's still a lot of work to do with ICE and deportations and then cleaning that up correctly. But right now, going into Congress, I think the border is secure. There's a lot of work to do, and I'll
Right.
touch on that. But if I could pick a win that impacts everybody, It might be the affordability crisis, healthcare, and I could do some very distinct things to focus on those two because that hits everybody.
Right.
I don't care where you live, where you're from, what party you're in. Everybody's suffering from healthcare costs, which are an anchor on our entire economy.
Right.
And then to focus on the affordability crisis,
Yes.
balancing the budget, and we can dive into these. But these two things would be critical. The third would be, how do I protect our kids today?
Right.
You know, our kids right now, in over 20 states, we have doctors that are performing gender reassignment surgeries on minors.
Yes.
And we're praying, God bless us, would you bless our nation? But we're allowing this to happen. We're allowing men to compete in women's sports without a national law. We're not protecting our daughters from privacy in their locker rooms,
Right.
bathrooms. I would do those things and, of course, secure our country.
Well, Ryan, listen, if you're able to accomplish those three areas, you will be the first congressman in a long, long time to
I'll hang up my hat and do
absolutely
something
right.
else, right?
So, you know, listen, one of the things that I hear during your campaign that some of your opponents talk about with regards to you is this whole issue of, oh, well, Ryan Binkley is for amnesty. Talk a little bit about that. Where did that come from, and what's the real scoop about that?
Okay, so, you know, one of my opponents has made his campaign about this, I guess. And so, anyway, the idea of amnesty is just not true. I mean, it's political opportunity. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Amnesty means this by definition. If you go to law.com and check it out, it basically means this: a pardon, a mass pardon for a large group of people from any offenses or crimes they committed. So in this case, and related to immigration, it would be basically pardon anybody that crossed our country, came into our country illegally, saying, hey, you're not guilty, no charges for you, which would be a pathway to citizenship for them. So I've never been for that. 4 years ago, or a few years ago, whenever Joe Biden was in office, and we had 4 or 5 million people coming into our country illegally. We also had about 150,000 people dying of fentanyl coming through our southern border. I have a friend of mine in Atlanta. We grew up together in our mid-20s, and we were family friends. And he had a daughter that took one pill at a party. She didn't overdose. It was just one recreational pill one time. And fentanyl now has been poisoned to where it's 100 times stronger than it was just 10 years ago. The distinct intentionality to kill. And it took her out and hundreds of thousands of others every single year. So I was raising the alarm. Hey, do a comprehensive immigration plan, figure something out. That's under Joe Biden's leadership. Solve the problem. We can't keep letting 150,000 people die, U.S. citizens die.
That's right.
And just turn ahead to it. So that's the reason I did that. And they think any working sort of any kind of comprehensive plan is amnesty, but it's not true. So I don't stand for amnesty. Amnesty is basically a free pass. I've always been for deportations. You know, the plan that I looked at was, hey, do something. Deport the first, you know, all the criminals first, and then like people that have been here under Biden's administration, and go from there. And President Trump is doing that exact same thing.
Exactly.
So his plan is my plan. There's no daylight between what President Trump calls for. But you know, politicians will do what politicians do.
They do. Well, I'm so happy that you were able to set the record straight. One of the other things that I've heard you say on the campaign trail is also where people should reside by waiting or while waiting for citizenship in the United States.
Yeah, that's
so.
important.
Can you let us know kind of what your thoughts on that are?
Well, if you look about where do we go from here? You know, there's gravity to come to our country, and what we have to do is prevent the magnet, which is jobs here. And how do people get here? Well, right now our current asylum laws are that you have to apply for asylum at our border.
Right.
We need to stop that. You ought to be able to go to a neighbor country, or go to the embassy in your own country, or go to a neighbor country. We shouldn't have millions of people lining up at our border. Remember Joe Biden, those pictures of just tens of thousands of people? That should never happen again. So my big concern is President Trump's leading now. But what's going to happen if God forbid, another Democrat become president again? What's going to happen if they're in office and everything that we've accomplished so far to secure our nation is undone? So I want to stop that. So I would add more border security. I'd add more technology, towers, people along our southern border. I would have them remain in your country, remain in Mexico, or change the asylum laws. I'd also do this: require E-Verify for every business. Now, this is pretty important because right now only government-backed organizations are truly required to have E-Verify. You got to do it across the board. That would make us as employers to go through every single employee, require that they have a verification process that they are a U.S. citizen. And if you require them to do that, then all of a sudden that removes the magnet. There's no jobs to be had, because if you can't pass this, you can't work here. And so these are simple things that we can do, but we have to do them. We could have done this 30 years ago.
Simple.
We just haven't done it. We
That's
argue that, you know, and the reality is this: we haven't really wanted to address this issue holistically, and we have to do it. Otherwise, these problems can continue.
The time is right.
Yeah, you touched briefly on the cost of affordability for certain things for our kids. One of them is healthcare. So what reform will you really advocate for at the federal level as our congressman?
Okay, so healthcare it's basically a mixture of socialized healthcare system and free market right now. And so the problem with healthcare is the government. So when we've got the government involved, it's an atrocity.
Yeah.
It's really now close to $1 trillion we're spending right now on Medicare and Medicaid, Obamacare, all these subsidies and things like that. And when you look at the whole system, to me, it's layered problems. One of the big problems is there's monopolies at every level. And what that means is there's not enough free market competition. So years ago when we were at Boston Scientific, this goes back a minute, okay? So the early 90s. And but we would sell equipment to doctors, small clinics, and hospitals. Well, now hospitals have purchased 90% of the doctors, 80% of the doctors in the United States, meaning they've taken away their own competition. So there's monopolies in the healthcare system.
Right.
You have to have access to your doctor. You have to have doctors providing care again and charging prices that people can see.
There's to be transparency.
So we have no price transparency. It's the only thing we purchase in America that I can think of.
Right.
That we'll walk into some place and not ask this question, how much does it cost for a bottle of water?
Right.
How much does it cost for me to be here for an MRI,
Right.
an x-ray? We don't even ask. They just go, what insurance do you have?
Well-
we give it to them, and then we find out 30 days later, oh my gosh, that was $20,000 for 2 minutes or for whatever. And you're like, you got scammed. And yet the answer is yes. So we have to have price visibility, health savings accounts, remove the barriers to competition, create small business associations, and let them join with other groups, let individuals join with other groups. We have to break the monopolies. When we have a market system and the consumers involved again, prices will come down and stay down.
Whenever you have competition, good things happen for consumers. Look back at the whole Ma Bell piece and how that split up, and the whole telecom explosion that happened after that because it was a free market economy. So I'm in complete agreement with that. Great.
We can truly change our country because this thing is a big part of our economy. You can't balance the budget, which gets to the affordability crisis. We can talk about how do we really adjust this big crisis. I'll get into that. But this healthcare system has to be fixed.
Right. So, when you think about your leadership style, juxtaposed maybe to other people that you were competing with for this role, right? How do you characterize your leadership style, and why do you think that's the right mix in order to be successful in Washington, and quite frankly, to bring that success in Washington back to CD32?
Well, look at President Trump. To me, he's just this transcendent leader, in our generation.
Right.
Ronald Reagan was one. President Trump's our generation's Ronald Reagan. He has the ability to kind of look at the problems from a unique perspective. He wasn't a politician, oddly enough. Neither was J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Not for most of his life. I guess he was the last few years. But some of our greatest leaders never really held political office before, they came, and they look at things at a different level. So President Trump's coming in, and he's looking at the problems with solutions in mind. So think about what he's did with the border. He fixed it right away. He didn't go through years of politics to figure this thing out. Within 6 months, this thing's fixed. He's wow, how did this happen? Well, he has a different mindset. So when you look at everything, how do you bring jobs back? I visited, county after county all over the nation and seen manufacturing companies that were gone in these small little cities. We've lost 60,000 manufacturing companies. Well, he's tariffing companies for fair trade. He's giving incentives for people to put manufacturing back here, advanced manufacturing. So he's coming up with solutions. So that's what I would do. I think we need the people's version. What President Trump did as a CEO in the White House, we need a CEO in the people's house to not just be a politician, not take lobby money, PAC money, and just get us $40 trillion more in debt over the next 20 years. Let's bring real change. Let's come up with solutions for healthcare. Let's come up with real solutions on how to grow the economy through advancing small business growth, changing the game instead of just doing the same thing all over again. I'm not going there to just do the same thing. I'm not looking for a job.
Right.
Many of my competitors, they're just looking for the next career step. I've been blessed. I've been living my little American dream for a while, and I'm going because I feel called.
Yeah.
This nation's in trouble, and I've got some ideas on how to fix it, fix the budget, fix the deficit, fix the debt, and truly grow our country and work with President Trump to do so. So that's a little bit different perspective.
That's
about
awesome.
Me.
Yeah,
That's so great. So we're going to take it a different route, a little bit of a different route. Tell us about, how did you meet your wife?
Oh my goodness. So, I've been in Dallas most of my life.
Yeah.
And so this is another key thing with me and some of my competitors. I've been here most of my life. I started in Garland in, my goodness, in the early 70s and when I was 5 years old. So I've been here, I think I've lived here in 5 different decades of my life at some point or another. But in the mid 90s, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And I gave my life to the Lord in 1992. Then a couple years later, my job, Boston Scientific, moved me to Atlanta. And that's where I met my wife, Ellie. I met her at a small church. In fact, Ellie's story is amazing. We get into that, but she's a first-generation immigrant here. Her dad came here when did he come? In the early 70s. He was an interpreter for General Trudeau in the Korean conflict.
Okay.
Waited 10 years. This is my immigration policy.
Yeah.
Do what he did. He
Yeah.
served. He waited 10 years, waited in line, and he taught his kids to love our country, love English, embrace its culture, never take from the country, always give back. But anyway, so I met Ellie in Atlanta, where they kind of settled as their family, and I met her at church there. And
That's
a
awesome.
small little church in Atlanta. And we served together in ministry, and then one day my eyes were open. I was like, she's supposed to be my wife, and
Aw.
began courting her.
I've had the honor of meeting her. She's amazing.
She's a rock star.
She is.
She's a rock star. I mean, she is. She's the glue to our family. She's truly very unique. She's a pastor. She's a leader of leaders. I mean, she is somebody that truly sees things from a great perspective.
Right.
I mean, of life and liberty and love and family, the next generation. And she wants to see all this happen as well,
Right.
for our country
So
and
good.
for all that she stands for.
She's amazing.
You know, Ryan, pivoting back for a second to the campaign that's going on right now, and we're filming this with Election Day tomorrow. So if this makes the clip and the cut to go out, if you haven't voted yet, get your butts out of your houses and go vote, right? Because elections matter, elections have consequences, and it matters to vote your conscience. And we are so very blessed to have that option and opportunity for us here in the United States. But in your campaign, there appears to be a lot of outside influence coming into this campaign. A lot of money from outside of the state of Texas has come in for a few, if not one, primary competitor that that you have. Talk to us a little bit about that. What does that mean? What are the implications of this money coming in from Delaware and from the Beltway and from Ohio and from all of these other parts of the country? What does that mean, and what should that mean to us?
Well, there's 9 candidates in this race, and everybody else is either self-funded or raised money locally, and I have as well. Most of my money comes from local business people right here, and myself
Right.
that I've contributed. But one of my opponents has received over $1 million from outside money, dark PAC money. And so what this is, I didn't know about it until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, a month ago, until his reports came out. And you can actually go to the FEC reports and find out who their donors are.
Okay.
And then you see a PAC as well. You see they brought in over $1 million in advertising money, which is pretty amazing. And but when you dive into it, I've always wondered why. So I don't always get curious about what, but then I go, well, what's the why? You want
What
to
is
know
the
why?
why?
You know, 'cause
I'm
this
hoping
is-
you're gonna
This
answer
is
that.
a primary. It's like unprecedented.
Yeah.
Yes.
That millions of dollars come in a primary that's a plus 15 Republican district. Now, sometimes you see these in battlegrounds in a general election and a really close, 2 or 3 points maybe difference where you got to get somebody over the edge to get another Republican in office.
Right.
That's not the case here. This is a plus 15 Republican district. And so I started looking at who it was and then who's behind it. And they're basically billionaires, and most of them are tied to the AI space, and they're tied to and what AI needs is data centers. And a big part of this district is East Texas.
Right.
So Rockwall is the gateway to East Texas.
Yes.
And we share aquifer water, we share so many resources, but East Texas has natural gas, it's got tons of water. We all need that. In fact, even Rockwall, I think, has been on 2-day water restrictions in the county for
That's right.
a while.
I live in Heath, and
Now,
we've been
you
on
know how
water
many-
restrictions for a long
So
time.
these
Right.
data centers are huge.
Yeah.
So first of all, AI, I support AI, but listen, Texas has been open to business. They shut them down in many states. California's put
Right.
a lot of restrictions. So all these guys from the Silicon Valley, they want to come to Texas. And that's what they're doing. So they're coming to Texas. There's a reason millions of dollars are coming in from billionaires. I
Right.
mean, big billionaires, not small, big billionaires. And it's because I believe this, they do what they want to do. They want to build data centers to support their industry and their big space. And so, I'm telling East Texas, the reason you have to pay attention to this, and Rockwall has to pay attention to this, is that you need a representative that represents you.
Yes.
I mean, when you have a representative in Congress, they represent the district.
Right.
And if you are backed by investors outside the state, outside money, investors want what?
They want access and influence.
And a return on
Right.
their investment.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so they want
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
in return.
Yeah, that's
I'm in
right.
this business.
Yeah.
Nobody gives money for nothing.
Right, right.
And so, when you have people giving lots of money, millions of dollars, well, what do they want? They want, eventually there's going to be access, and they want the influence, as you said,
Right.
to have water access. And so that's going to be eminent domain one day. That's going to be the ability we're one step away from some leadership going, hey, AI, we have to lead. Here's eminent domain. When you go out to East Texas,
Yeah.
property rights are like, I own some property in Dallas. I own like small acreage, okay, like 5 acres. It's in the district. And but we had a little eminent domain happen to me recently, and man, it cost me some money. Now they never enforced it till this year,
Okay.
but they did, and they put their little dart train on it. So I'm not real happy about it. But anyway, it's cost a lot of opportunities for me. But can you imagine? I've talked to landowners in East Texas. They've had family property for hundreds of years. They have
Yes.
family cemeteries on that property. And all of a sudden, it's not just data centers that could go in, but they have to build reservoirs and lakes because these things take millions of gallons of water to cool these data centers. And they're not small. The one in Lufkin is 1,700 acres.
Wow.
Expandable to 4,000 acres. These are cities.
Right.
Yes.
They drain energy. I read an article the other day where energy consumption could go up 70% right here in Texas because of data centers in the next 7 years. So my word to everybody in District 32, Rockwall included, because they could come right here in your county or right outside of it, is be careful what you ask for. I believe in the IEI, but let them put those things in West Texas. Let them figure out how to put small nuclear energy behind it. Let's don't make them
Yes.
take our most precious land and water resources right here in Rockwall, East Texas. It'll change our way of life. What I know about Rockwall, East Texas, y'all want to protect it.
That's
You moved
right.
out here for a reason.
Yeah, we want.
Yes.
You want
Yeah.
a straw the size of
Yes.
Manhattan going into your aquifer?
No.
You know, no.
Right.
And so I'm just telling everybody about it. Let's pay attention. Money comes in for a reason, and I'm just making it known. Here's the reason that I see. It's clearly seen. Do the research yourself, but I'm fighting for you.
Right.
Fantastic, Ryan. Thank you
Awesome.
for that.
You've always been a staunch supporter of an Israeli state, right? So tell us, what is that going to look like for you, and what are you going to do to strengthen that relationship? And I'm going to read my question so that I
That's
get
okay,
it right,
no.
because I'm a little nervous about that question. I want to make sure I get it correct. So why do you feel this way, and how will you work to continue to strengthen this relationship?
Well, Israel is a very important ally
Yes,
to us, and
it
so
is.
they have been in the Middle East. They're one of our greatest allies, period. But in the Middle East, they're our best ally,
Yes.
period, by far and away.
Yes.
We share culture with them. We share
That's right.
different economic, thoughts on how we're going to run business and life. And we share a lot of intelligence with them and have for decades. And so they've been under attack. Iran has been, fighting them and supporting terrorist organizations from Hamas to Houthis to Hezbollah for decades.
Yes.
So there's a lot of reasons I would say supporting them. And there's fragments of our party. You may have heard like the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes
Yes.
type.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yes.
let's forget about Israel. I mean, they've kind
Yes.
of gone off the deep end here, just to be
Right.
honest with you. I like a lot of them, but at the end of the day, I'm departing from them in this area. It's not time to leave Israel alone. I support them. Some people just say, I support you. Go for it.
President Trump certainly hasn't let them, has he?
No.
Right, no.
And so somebody, this
That's right.
party needs to line up behind President Trump's leadership, and he supports him for common sense reasons as well. But it makes sense too, because you know what? I just think it's important to stand by your allies, and they're fighting Sharia law at the forefront. Look what's coming into Texas. We've had Sharia law. We have epic centers. We have things trying to move into our state.
Yes.
That's
Well,
right.
let's don't abandon the nation that's fighting them at the forefront, and has been forever. And so they're fighting that. They have been fighting that. I support President Trump's, foreign policy right now to keep the Western Hemisphere sovereign, to keep America sovereign, to make sure that we're not submitting or bowing our knee to the globalism world out there. And this is what we have to do right now. Stand with our greatest allies, stand with strength. And peace is going to come, but it comes through strength.
Yes.
You know,
It
Ryan,
doesn't come from being a pacifist.
Yeah,
That's right.
you're right, and we saw what that happened when Wilson took us on a pacifist level before World War I, and it became America First, and we found ourselves woefully behind with World War I breaking out, and it took us so many years to climb up the curve to be at a point where we could be a formidable force. But on the whole Judeo-Christian piece, we're all children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we're all from that lineage. Our same 5 books of the Old Testament, and nobody knows this better than you as a pastor, is the same foundational belief for the Israeli Torah. And we are so grateful to have those two peoples together under one banner, and that's playing out right now in the Middle East.
It really is, and a lot of people just need to probably have a better education of how much the Levitical law really brought into our laws here in
Yeah.
the United States. I mean, our marriage laws, from do not commit adultery, are
Yeah,
part of it.
right.
Perjury laws are right there. Thou shalt not bear false witness. I mean, even some of our many of our commerce laws and trade are built on the 10 Commandments itself. You can go back to Jamestown back in the 1600s, before we were ever a nation. They had the blue laws even back
Right,
then.
right.
For honoring the Sabbaths. And so there's been a great influence that God's word has had on our culture and our life and our society, and it's good to honor that.
That's awesome.
Completely agree. Being a man of God yourself, how do you think that's prepared you to be a congressional representative, and how will you use God's prompting and the Holy Spirit's prompting to help guide your decision-making process?
Well, I believe God's word is whole and it's complete, and it's not. Some of my opponents said, well, the Bible's not applicable here or there. I just don't think that's true. Even in some of the most difficult things we face today,
Right.
Immigration. The Bible says in the book of Acts that God gives boundaries to nations. And what happens when those boundaries aren't kept, or when even our own president did not allow them to be kept? That's when disruption comes and chaos comes. And so when you just honor God's word and then to submit to the authorities in the land, that's in Romans. And so it's important for people here today just to submit to the laws of the land. There's a lot of different things in Scripture, even about how you treat the poor.
Yes.
I tell this is important for our party to know this, but the Bible doesn't ever say hire the government to take care of your neighborhood.
Right.
Jesus said, you love your neighbor. So he wasn't talking about hiring
Not
the
an
government
option.
to do it. He was
Right.
talking about you and me and the church
Yeah.
doing it. So a lot of times people look for the government to go do the Bible's work. Well, a lot of that's up to us to do. Helping the poor, helping those in need, seeing people. And I'm going to take that type of perspective, but there's laws that need to be followed. That's a biblical and godly thing.
Yes.
And it's okay to enforce them. Enforce them with truth, enforce them, fully. And it's
Yeah.
okay. And it's a good thing to do.
That's awesome. So why is Rockwall County so important to District 32?
Wow.
And yes.
Great
Because you're
question.
here.
Right.
Why is Rockwall County so important, and what do you want to say to the voters, and what's important about them getting out and voting?
Wow. So Rockwall is pretty amazing. So the district, again, is North Dallas, Rockwall, and then East Texas. And so a couple of reasons. One, it's geographically in the center, which is pretty interesting. So you may have known we've opened up our campaign headquarters here.
Yes.
And God willing, March 3rd, I am your
Right.
congressperson. We're going to have our congressional headquarters here as well for a couple of reasons. One, it's geographically in the middle. Number two, though, it's like the epicenter politically. Look at the way you elect leaders here in Rockwall County. It's pretty amazing. You're 75% or so more Republican. It's one of the most profound counties in our state as far as with great leadership at every level, from the mayors. And by the way, we've had Mayor Tim McCallum endorse us.
Yes.
A little plug here. Mayor Brian McNeil,
Yes.
2 of the 4 county commissioners as well. So we've had a lot of local endorsements because we spent time together.
Right.
And
I think
so
that's important. We've spent time
we
together.
spent time together.
Yes.
And Mayor Tim McCallum said this, I spent over a couple hours with Ryan talking to him.
Right.
And so it's like when you get
Right.
a chance to talk, who do you want to represent you? And but it's important for those reasons, I think, for us to be a voice. We're also going to have a small office in probably Upshur County as well, somewhere in East Texas, because their biggest concern is, are they going to be forgotten?
Right.
So Rockwall is going to be a big part of it. I hope to be here about at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. We're going to have a headquarters here, be in East Texas at least once a month. And Dallas will see me enough because I live there. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure we're represented. And Rockwall is so
Yeah.
key. And I want to take the influence of Rockwall and make it go like this
So do we.
instead of the other way around.
So do we. Absolutely. Pivoting on the international piece just for a second, with the war in Ukraine raging 4 years after the Russian invasion, and billions, if not trillions of dollars that have gone to the Ukrainians to support their effort and the war machine that it takes to keep one of our largest adversaries, Russia, at bay. What's your stance on that from a U.S. support for the Ukrainian war effort?
Well, President Trump is leading this the right way. First of all, you can look and see, why are we in this war to begin
Right.
with? He said it. If I was
Right.
president, I'm going
Yeah.
to get my Trump invitation. If I was president, this never happened.
Right.
And I wholeheartedly agree, because
Yeah.
you look and see what happened when Obama was president. Remember, that's when he moved over and took over Crimea. I mean,
Yes.
so boom, as soon as he was there, right? And same thing with Biden. When Biden's in office, then he just moves in, basically tries to march in Kiev right there. And so when you have strong leadership, you keep some of your enemies at bay. When they see weak leadership, that's when they advance. Now, my estimation is Putin doesn't want to just make little advancements. I think he wants to put the old band back together.
Sure, that's right.
So,
He wants to
I
put the
believe
whole
in standing
Soviet
for
bloc.
liberty. I think it's really President Trump's leading this the right way, requiring Europe to step up in their own backyard. Okay, if this is really important to you, make sure that you do your part. Because Putin likely does. He wants to go into Poland or Romania. He's already kind of sent little drones right over those borders already, testing that. So, my view is President Trump's leading this the right way. He's trying to call for a peace treaty right now. This has gone on too long, 4 years. There's plenty of time, long enough. Let's not let them advance anymore, but let's try and bring a peaceful resolution to this and give them some sort of certainties that, along with Europe, that, we're going to stand with them should they invade again. So.
That's right. Completely agree.
That's awesome. So, as a business owner, we've already talked briefly about the number of lives that you support in your business, but you have said that you are responsible for over 400 families that you employ. So, why is that an important consideration when we are electing a congressional representative?
You know, we have all kinds of employees in our company. So I have a lot of executives, and I have people that are, working in restaurants even. So I've got some people that are high school kids and college kids. We have different people at different ages. So one of the companies I have is a little restaurant group, and most of our business is in M&A and business consulting. But, when you have a chance to work with people, you see all their different needs that they have. And so we have the largest income gap that we've ever had in America. We have the haves and the have-nots. It's bigger than it's ever been. Even Scott Bessent, said this. He said the bottom 50% really don't even own anything. They're in debt today. Most of the wealth of America and the stock market's owned by the top 15%. That's it. Then you got, a little bit more for the next 20 or 30%. So it's time for us to make sure there's an opportunity for everybody.
Right.
Well, the only way to do that is to make their wages count, to make sure that whatever we're paying them doesn't get eaten up by inflation. The only way to address that is to have normal growth with cost cutting in place so inflation gets down. So what causes inflation? The biggest cost to inflation is the fact that we have deficits every year. Deficits lead to the debt. So in about a year or two, we're going to have $40 trillion in debt. We're almost $1.8 trillion in deficit this year. I mean, it's year after year after year. Can you imagine running your house on that?
No.
Business on that?
I certainly can't run my business
That
that
we
way.
have a printing machine at the Fed, right? So
Yeah.
they just print money. Everybody wishes they had one of those things,
Yeah,
right? But
me too.
so we have to solve this deficit problem first, which to me is going to come from business growth, launching small business. So I'm a CEO. We help small business owners grow their business, sell them. I know what it takes. We got to get the government out of the way. Take the ability to borrow some money from the SBA, make that a little bit easier, and get out of the way. Entrepreneurship is the DNA of our country. We let small businesses take off. And by the way, small businesses employ half of the employees in the United States of America.
Yep.
But they hardly get any credit.
Yeah,
So
that's
let's
exactly right.
Let's help them. Let's get
Yeah.
them out of the way. They'll start employing some young people. Next, let's train young people on how to work. Let's tell them to go get a career, go get a college degree in an area where you can get a job. And if not, then go learn a trade where you can start a business one day. I mean, in our business, we make more millionaires out of people that are in the trades business because they started their own company. I mean, from HVAC repair to you name it.
Those are
I mean,
fantastic careers.
There's big money in these things
There is,
now.
yeah.
And it's a great opportunity. So, and by the way, AI is not going to be taking their job anytime soon. People
Right.
know how to work. So
Yeah.
I think this is the vision. Letting people launch new businesses and getting the government out of the way, and let's start
That's
growth.
awesome.
So we can grow and keep inflation down, quit printing money,
Yes.
which
Right.
is start with the deficit.
Yes.
Then one day we can balance the budget again.
Right.
And when we can do that, we're going to have a healthy country.
Yes.
And I think it's a window. The reason I'm running for Congress is we got 4 to 6 years to corral this thing. And President Trump needs leaders that knows what to do.
Yes.
That aren't just going there to rubber stamp stuff or just not get anything done. It's time for transformational leadership in Congress.
So Ryan, last question for you. And the campaign, the election day is tomorrow, and our hopes and our prayers are with you and everything that you and your family and your team have really put into this. Last response from you: why should people vote for you for Congress for the 32nd District in Texas?
Yeah, it's a critical time. I think this is the most consequential midterm of my lifetime. I'm 58 years old. I'm not a politician, but I can see what's at stake today. And the very lives of our futures, the next 20 years, 30 years, as well as our kids and grandkids, is very much at stake. We have to bring change, and we have to bring it now. We have a window to do it. President Trump needs leaders that can help grow the economy, cut wasteful spending, balance the budget again. We haven't had a leader in the Republican Party really talk about balancing budget since Newt Gingrich.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been too long, okay? So it's time to put leaders in place that would recognize this reality and know what to do about it. I am that candidate. I can do that, and I'll bring perspective. I'll protect our kids. I'll make sure I protect life as well. I believe we have to do so many things to get God's attention in our nation, but if we use common sense and wisdom in healthcare, immigration reform, we'll get our country back. And I want to be the
awesome.
candidate to do that. So I would love to ask for District 32 support, and
Ryan,
yours as well.
Listen, on behalf of the Network Blender, we just can't thank you enough for being with us
Yeah.
here today. Your run here is inspiring, and you speak to so many people within this district, and we wish you nothing but great success moving forward.
Thank you.
Good luck in the campaign.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks
Thank you
for
very
being
much.
here.
You bet.
I'm Tammy Escobedo with Zen and Juice, where we talk all things wellness and health. So I'm excited to be here today. So you know what I did? I did a search about what is the top 3 things that Rockwall County residents are looking for in regard to health and wellness. And the number 1 thing was sleep deprivation.
That happens to me all the time.
I think it's a thing.
We all
So
know
yes, right? Do any of you sleep 7 to 9 hours a night?
that. I wish.
No.
I've had 5
5
Right.
since Friday.
since Friday.
I've had 5 hours of sleep.
Okay, good. Well, so I did some research about how important sleep is to our bodies and to our health and to our well-being. So let's just talk about that. The 10 most powerful reasons it's important to get good sleep.
All right.
So, and then I'm going to leave you with a challenge, right? To get more sleep.
I have a question too.
Yeah. What is it?
Well, in my research, I found out that we get a brain fracture if we don't sleep. Is that true?
Okay. So yes, we're going to talk about
No
that.
way. I got
know.
it.
You
Okay.
did. Okay.
Sorry.
So
Spoiler alert.
let me say this. When you sleep well, your brain heals itself. Did you know that?
Yep.
Okay. So with a lack of sleep, we have more fog, mental fog. I know I get that a lot, and I can relate it back to lack of sleep. We think slower when we don't have enough sleep, and we make bad decisions, poor decision making when we don't get enough sleep. Does that resonate with anyone?
It's not just alcohol, it's actually sleep related.
Well, that might have something to do with it
Okay,
too. But
all
okay.
We're in a better mood.
Right.
Okay, here's another important thing. Number 2, sleep regulates your weight hormones. So I love that. So I've been through a weight journey recently.
Mhm.
I know.
And you look fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't say it for that reason, but I have been on a weight journey, and I feel like sleeping has been a very important factor. One of my friends, Danielle Carr, some of y'all will remember her.
Mhm.
She is my fabulous dietitian that I worked with closely to lose some weight and continue to tap into her knowledge on a regular basis. But shout out to Danielle. She taught me, make sure you're sleeping enough. So I am a 7 to 9 hour sleeper. I try to be. I don't always get that done, but I try to be. But when we are sleep deprived, y'all, we crave more carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? We crave more carbs, we crave sugar, and we crave salty snacks. So poor sleep is really directly related to weight gain. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I know that I crave coffee and a lot of coffee when I'm sleep deprived. So,
I wonder, do you put cream and sugar in it?
I absolutely do.
Okay, well
Yes.
then there's that.
Okay, right.
All right. Fat loss happens during deep sleep.
Huh.
I didn't know that.
No.
Didn't know that
Fat
either.
loss happens during deep sleep. So we have a growth hormone that is released when we are in a deep sleep. Okay. And so when we are in a deep sleep, it helps repair tissue and support our fat metabolism. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I thought I was past the age where I had a metabolism. So,
Well, maybe we're both in that. Maybe we both fall in that category, but okay. So if you're trying to lose weight, but skimping on your sleep, you really are fighting your biology. So that's important to know.
Everybody's gonna, get Ambien now instead of Ozempic. It's
Right, there you
Ambien.
go. All right, and number 4, it lowers our cortisol and our stress. So when our cortisol is high, that releases that cortisol release. That's when we gain weight, right?
right.
So a lack of sleep raises our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and the elevated cortisol increases belly fat storage. Who knew? Inflammation and anxiety. Keep going. So number 5, anxiety and sleep feed each other. Anxiety is definitely something I deal with all the time. I don't know if it's the color of my hair, maybe because I'm a female. I don't know. Redheaded preacher's kid, daughter. I don't know. Anxiety has always been something that I have wondered about.
I don't
So,
suffer from anxiety at all, and I don't get any sleep.
I think you do. You just don't recognize it.
I just was.
Okay.
That was for the camera.
So
only.
when you don't sleep, right, our brains can't work well. And our brains, that hormone becomes reactive, right? So that we don't handle things well. So a small problem feels really big, and a big problem feels catastrophic.
Right.
Any of us have anything going on in our life? I know I do.
Always.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think everybody
Yeah.
does. Everybody has something going on in their life. So
those small problems feel big, big problems feel catastrophic. So then anxiety keeps us awake. So it becomes really just a loop, and the sleep can really help break that cycle. So that's important. Number 6, it strengthens our immune system. When we get good sleep, it strengthens our immune system. So when we sleep, our body produces an infection-fighting cytokine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's great.
I know. Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is, but I'm hopeful that you're going to tell us.
I am going to tell you.
I'm going to try to use cytokine in a sentence later today.
Cytokines are small signaling proteins to help regulate the immune system.
All right.
Okay. So the best way to reduce inflammatory cytokines, I practiced that word,
Good.
Okay.
is to adopt a healthy lifestyle with regular moderate exercise.
Okay.
Okay. So just walking. How many times? I know for me, I have a job that keeps me a little bit in my seat a lot. I think you do too.
I do.
In our seat a lot. And so anti-inflammatory diet is important, right? So eating whole foods, fish and nuts is really important. But the number 3 thing to decrease that infection, cytokine, inflammatory is adequate sleep.
Okay.
I thought that was important. Sleep is so important to us. Okay, and number 7, heart health depends on it. Our heart health depends on good sleep. So, number 8, it improves blood sugar control. Anybody have problems with blood sugar control?
Not me.
No.
Do you eat a lot of sugar? Okay, even 1 week of poor sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity. So, anybody who's having insulin issues, try to get a good few nights of sleep. A good week can change that for you. Number 9, it boosts mood and resilience. Good sleep improves emotional regulation, patience,
Maya.
and creativity.
That'll make Maya call me every morning smiling. She slept so good.
So listen to this. This was important to me. Leaders who sleep well think clearer.
Yes, I agree with that.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
So then there's that. Number 10, sleep needs change with age, not weight. So we sometimes think that the sleep that we get is important based on our weight, but it's not. It's really our age. So adults 18 to 64, I fall into that, requires about 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, where older adults 65 and above need 7 to 8 hours, and then teens 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do our grandparents only sleep 5 hours?
Well, they don't need as much. Older adults 7 to 8 hours. So why 5? I don't know. Do your grandparents sleep 5 hours?
They said they were told to get up at 4 to go farming, and so.
Well, they probably go to bed at 7 or 8 o'clock.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I just thought that was interesting.
So I'm going to leave you with this. Well, one more thing. Your weight doesn't determine how long you need to sleep, but poor sleep absolutely influences your weight. So I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to challenge everybody. This is my wrap-up challenge, right? Okay. Your wrap-up challenge is for 7 days, I want you to get more sleep.
Okay.
How many of you would want to chime into that?
Me.
So for our viewers that are watching, I'd love for somebody to take this challenge with us. Do we want to call out anybody who might want to take this challenge with us?
Yes, call them out.
I'm going to call out Allison Bellevaux.
Okay. Ooh, she's
Allison.
a good one.
I stayed with her at Rockwall County Days this last week, and it was so fun. I got to know her in a whole new light. So Allison, I think she gets pretty good sleep, but I'm going to challenge her to do this. Who else do we want to call out?
I'm going to call out Mayor Jeremiah McClure.
Ooh, Jeremiah.
I think your council would love to see you sleep more.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's pick those 2 people.
Okay.
We didn't even ask them first.
No,
Right.
We just
nominated
right
them.
here.
Okay.
All right, so for 7 days, I want you to focus on these questions. With 7 to 9 hours of sleep, do you feel calmer? Are you craving less sugar? And is your mind clearer? So kind of answer those 3 questions. And anybody else who wants to do it with us, I think that would be important. Feel free to go on our page.
Yeah.
Maybe send us an email, thenetworkblender@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. And then I'm going to challenge you to go to 21 days. So 14 more days. And then say, because of habits that you're forming when you're getting more of this sleep, repeat them with intention. Notice your mood. Notice your waistline. Are you seeing a difference?
Because it takes 21 days to really break a habit.
It does.
Yeah.
21 days is really important. So notice your patience with friends and family, any relationships that you have. What is that looking? And sleep is not lazy. Sleep is leadership.
I love it.
Thanks
Oh,
for
I
joining
like
us today.
that.
That's fun.
I know. We should
All right.
give a prize.
We
for-
should maybe call the
the
people that we
21
called
days.
out.
Yeah, we should let
We
them
should
know.
give them a heads up before the show airs.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here, Ryan, and joining us today. One of the questions that we have for you, with all the campaigns and elections going on, how and when do you find the time to spend with your kids and your family?
Wow. Okay. That's a question I didn't want you to ask. So it's been
Oh,
really
no.
hard, probably, and especially in the last 6 weeks or so, because we've been running so hard. But in general, it's just about balance. I've got the greatest wife in the world, so she helps me, tells me exactly where to be for big events or big moments, and just try and spend time with them a little bit. I like to play golf with my sons, and so I try and spend some time hacking around with them a little bit when I can. And a lot of times it's just some moments on the couch lately when we get home at night. So it's just been, hey, sit down and let's just talk and look at each other in the eye and do the best we can. I'm hopeful after March 3rd here, I'll be able to do even more time with them.
Oh, that's sweet.
That was a great answer. So we want to ask another thing, so it's going to be a little tough for you.
Okay.
Because we need to know. We're all dying to know.
Dying to
What
know.
is the one thing about you that nobody knows?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's
Fun
a fun
fact.
fact.
Okay, well,
Super fun fact about
that
you.
nobody knows?
Oh, no.
And
my
nobody
goodness.
knows.
Nobody knows in District 32 or just,
Well, I don't
wow,
know.
okay.
It's totally up to you. You
Okay,
pick
so
your
I am in
question.
the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Now, there's Business Hall of Fame. I actually am, I don't know what I call it, a Hall of Fame in business, but my bigger Hall of Fame moment is the University of Texas. They have a gym there called Gregory Gym, and they put the intramural champions for the University of Texas in those your pictures up there. And I am enshrined on a wall for flag football of 1989 at University of Texas Gregory Gym.
That's
It's called the Wall of
interesting.
Fame. The name of the team was the Apathetics.
Apathetic.
That was the name of our team. We were the independent league champions flag football. So I'm
Okay.
enshrined forever in Gregory Jim's wall.
Well, you can always say you're a Hall of Famer. And
Hall of
flag
Famer.
football, everybody loves
Hall of
flag
Famer.
football. Yeah.
Pretty decent flag football.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on the Network Blender. We
It-
appreciate it.
It's been great to be
Thank
with you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget to join us at Shenanigans on March 23rd, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Everyone is invited and welcome, business owners, nonprofits, you name it. Also follow us on Facebook, the Network Blender, Rockwell County.
I'd also like to thank our friends here at the Hub in Fate for allowing us to film. Please contact the Hub at Fate for all of your co-working needs. And I'd also like to put a special thank you out to Congressional Representative candidate Ryan Binkley for joining us here today.
I would like to thank Shenanigans for allowing us to host our monthly event and Mixer. Thank you very much for Shenanigans Event Group in Rockwell, Texas. And I'm Kim Johnson.
I'm Scott Dodson.
I'm Maya Krause.
And I'm Tammy Escobedo, and we are
The Network Blender.